Hi, this screencast is on solving inequalities with one variable, and so I suggest that you would have a notebook or somewhere to write down your information. You might want to have a ruler to draw your graph and something to write with. Okay, so here's my first example, and my first example is the inequality x plus 4 is less than -8. So to solve this inequality, the first thing I'm going to do is imagine that it is an equation. So I'm going to rewrite it as an equation. I'm just going to pretend. Then I'm going to solve this equation by using the properties of equality. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to do the opposite of add 4, subtract 4. Subtract 4 or give a -4 to both sides. And when I combine this -8 and this -4, then I get -12. So I have x equals -12. But it's not really equal to -12 because it's an inequality. So the next thing I'm going to do is draw my graph. Because when you're solving an inequality, it's always good to graph it. So when I draw my graph from scratch, then, and I don't have a scale already given to me, then I typically make the center of the number line the solution, which is -12. So I put -12 on here. And then I'm going to put some numbers that go to the right of -12 and some things to go to the left of -12. So I'm using a scale of -6. So 0, -6, -12, -18, -24. Then I am going to use my solution and I'm going to put it back in the original inequality. So -12 plus 4, is that less than -8? And I check that, and I get -8 is less than -8. Now, is that true? Is -8 less than -8? No, it's not true, because they're equal. So at -12, it doesn't mean my solution's wrong. It just means that at -12 is not part of my solution. It's only where the solution begins. So where are the values that will work? Well, I'm going to check both sides. So I'm going to check for things that are on the right of -12 or greater than -12, and things that are less than -12. And then I'll be able to write my final answer after I figure that out. So I'm going to choose something to the right here of -12, like 0. So I'm going to check 0. 0 plus 4. Is that less than -8? Was 4 less than -8? No. So this 0 is not part of my solution. This is not something that would work in the inequality to get less than -8. So instead, I'm going to try something to the left of it, like -24. So I'll put -24 in the inequality. -24 plus 4. Is that less than -8? Well, -24 plus 4 is -20, and that is less than -8. So that means that -24 is part of the solution. As a matter of fact, everything to the left of -12 will be the solution. So I'm going to shade everything to the left of -12. So everything that way. Now, I can see here the symbol I'm going to use. That means that it must be less than -12. Less than. So x is less than -12. Let me show you another example. So, in this inequality, 18 minus 6x is less than or equal to 48. So the first thing I'm going to do is pretend that this is an equation. So I'm going to rewrite it as an equation, remembering that this is just pretend, so I don't cross anything out. And then I'm going to solve the equation. So subtract 18 from both sides. That means this subtract 18 gets rid of the 18. Remember, this is a -6x equals 48 minus 18 is 30. My last step is divide, and I'm going to divide by whatever is being multiplied by. So I'm multiplying x by a -6, so I divide by -6. That means that x equals -5. So x equals -5. Now I'm going to use the graph. That's not the final answer though, because it's an inequality, not an equation, so there's more to this. So I need to graph my solution. And since there's no scale on this for me, I'm going to put -5 here in the center, put things to the right of -5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, there's 0, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, -10. Okay, there we go. Now I have a graph. And I'm going to start at -5, and I'm going to put -5 in my inequality. So I rewrote the inequality, and then I substituted in the -5, which is the solution, in for x. And so on the right here I have 48, and on the left I'll have 18, and then I remember if I put this in the calculator, it's going to multiply here first, and then we'll get 18 plus 30 is 48. Now, is 48 less than or equal to 48? Yes, because 48 is equal to 48. So what that tells me is this is going to be part of the solution. So I'm going to color that one in. Since yes, it is part of the solution, so I shade it. But there's more to this, so I have to figure out which way to graph. So I'm going to check both sides. I'm going to check on the right of -5 and on the left of -5. And I'll check on the right first. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the inequality. That's my r. Then I'm going to substitute in 0. I'm going to use 0 as the number to substitute in. And I could use anything to the right of -5. I just pick 0 because it's easy to multiply by 0. So 18 minus 6 times 0. So 6 times 0 is 0. 18 minus 0 is 18. Is 18 less than or equal to 48? Yes, it is. Yep. So that means 0 is part of the solution, which means when I put in -10, it probably shouldn't work, because it shouldn't work on both sides. So I'll try -10 though, just in case. 18 minus 6 times -10, don't forget the negative, is that less than or equal to 48? So 6 times -10 is -60. 18 minus -60 would be the same as 18 plus 60, so that is 78. Is that less than or equal to 48? No, it's not. So it means -10 does not work, but 0 did, so that means that the solutions must be over here. Everything to the right of -5. So when I draw my arrow, look at what symbol I'm writing here. A greater than symbol. So the solution is x is greater than -5. But remember, not only is it greater than -5, it also equaled -5. So it's greater than or equal to -5. Now there are some shorter ways to solving inequalities, and you might see them or try them on your own, that's fine. But I found that as inequalities get more and more tricky and complicated, that by pretending it's an equation, finding my solution, then graphing it and figuring which side I shade or which side the arrow goes on, using that and then writing my solution always got me the correct answer. It wasn't short, it takes a lot of time, but I was always confident that I have the right answer. So that's why I do it this way. Hope that's helpful. Thanks.